Australian Poetry Hall of Fame on Thundercloud. I'm Paul's James. Washed away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. It's Wednesday Words. On this 10th of April 2024, we're going to have some fun and linguistic games. Well, let's begin with acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we broadcast, the Kamilaroi and Banjo people, to acknowledge their continuing connection to the land and acknowledge sovereignty has never been ceded. Let's also acknowledge these servicemen and women who served in our wars to create this and protect our way of life and this wonderful land that we can live in peace and freedom in 2024 and abundance. Thank you. All right, what's been happening around the poetry traps? We've got the Oracles of the Bush up in Tenterfield, was the last one after 27 years last weekend. It's a very, very sad but wonderful occasion and celebrated by many bush poets and the like. Big congratulations to Lara Flanagan, who took out the looming legend in the poetry competition. Yes, she was certainly a worthy successor, and yeah, all of those other mob that we saw up there, those wonderful big thanks to Ray Essery, Bill Kearns, Neil MacArthur, Greg North, and all the other poets that were up there. Really, seriously, it was a great weekend. Also, a big shout out to the Glen Innes open mic night that happens there at the first Friday of every month at the Chapel Theatre. Thank you very much for welcoming both Skye and myself last Friday. Okay, let's get on with the show and do some poetry straight up before I go wandering and yabbering away, blah, 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 blah. While I was at the Oracles of the Bush, I bought a whole lot of poetry books, and one of the ones that I bought here was this Australia's Beating Heart, an anthology of traditional bush poetry put out by the Australian Geographic in 2021. And it was edited by Mel and Susie, who are a bush poetry couple from Lightning Ridge, and they do some really funny shows. And their names are Melanie Hall and Susan Carcary. Now, I just want to show you, this is not just any traditional Australian bush poetry book, but it's got really wonderful pictures all the way through it. Now, I'm going to bring that over the camera and just show you so you can see what I mean. So you have a look at that. That's like all the way through. There's hats and there's people on milking cows and flowers and gum leaves and stuff like that. So really, yeah, fantastic book. But what is really good about it is the selection of poetry. It's a well selected book and a lot of really lovely poems, and not just your run-of-the-mill Banjo, Paterson and Henry Lawson either. Mind you, they are great writers. So tonight I've selected, I'm going to kick it off with one called, well, not the one I did last night. This is by, well, okay, you're right, I'm going to eat my words. This is by Banjo Paterson. And I couldn't help myself because I've never read Banjo Paterson a love poem from him. And this is one that, yeah, well, here we go. As long as your eyes are blue, wilt thou love me sweet when my hair is grey and my cheeks have lost their hue? When the charms of youth shall have passed away, will your love as of old prove true? For the looks may change and the heart may range, and the love be no longer fond. Will thou love with truth in the years of youth and away to the years beyond? Oh, I love you, sweet, for your locks of brown, and the blush on your cheek that lies, but I love you most for the kindly heart that I see in your sweet blue eyes. The eyes are the sign of the soul within, of the heart that is leal and true. And my own sweetheart, I shall love you still, just as long as your eyes are blue. For the locks may bleach and the cheeks of peach may be reft of their golden hue, but mine own sweetheart, I shall love you still, just as long as your eyes are blue. By Banjo, Paterson. Yeah. There's a word in there that I said, and you may not know it. I had to look it up. It's leal, L-E-A-L. It means like faithful and true. Leal is the word. Now, the next one I've got here for you is by Mary Gilmore, $10 Mary. Now, if you've ever looked at your $10 note, you've got Banjo Paterson on one side and Mary Gilmore on the other side. They're both poets. That's why the $10 note is called the Poet's Note. As I pre-read this poem, I'm reading about, it's called The Saturday Tub, and it's about a bath. But the very end of it, the last 4 lines, just totally changes everything. And it talks about, right in the very last line, war. This is a woman that was born, I think, in 1850, and she lived till the age of about 96 from memory, or 92, can't quite remember there. The Saturday Tub. Dreaming I sat by the fire last night, and all at once I jumped in fright. For I really thought, as the embers burned, that somehow or other the years had turned, and I was back where I used to be in 1800 and something 3. Still in my place for the old bath tub, flannel and soap and a rubber-dub-dub. All in line by the fire we stood. Johnny, keep still, and Hughie, be good. And as one by one we took it in turn to stand in a tub the size of a churn. It was, where's the flannel? And mind the soap, slither and slide and scuffle and grope, soap and flannel and rubber-dub-dub, each in his turn in the old bath tub. On Saturday nights we stood in a row, spotlessly clean and white as the snow, except that the little round knees stayed brown, though the soap had smothered us toes to crown. The firelight flickered on breast and brow. I loved it then and I love it now. Lathered and flannelled, scrub-a-dub-dub, each in his turn from the old bathtub. When each little shirt went over each head, gentle Jesus and our Father said, it was quick with a kiss and now then run and off into bed with you, everyone. Ah, would we had kept in these later days to the kind old path and the simple ways, when nation by nation, rub-a-dub-dub, the world fell into a blood bath tub. So yeah, interesting. Mary Gilmore. The next one we got here is The Australian's Lament by Susan Nugent Wood. And I will just read to you a little bit about Susan Nugent Wood. Susan Nugent Wood. Nugent, what kind of name is that for a woman? For anyone? Maybe it's a surname. In 1861, Nugent Wood moved to New Zealand with her husband, and for the next, I shouldn't laugh at people's names, like people will laugh at Thundercloud, but she's dead anyway, so she can't get me. Maybe her spirits are in. Anyway, she went to New Zealand. Yeah, well, that was what was wrong with her, really, wasn't it? Yeah. And then she lived with her husband, and for the next decade they lived on the goldfields, and she wrote for the Otago Witness, the Saturday Advertiser, the Australian Journal, Women's Work in Australia, and in 1962, and published Bush Flowers in 1867, sorry. Yeah. So Mrs. Nugent Wood, the Australian's lament. Far away in sweet Australia, now the summer's shining fair, now the wattle's flowery branches scent the glad bush everywhere. On the home I love so fondly, brightly now the sunbeams play. All is warmth and light and beauty in my own land far away. In these cold and gloomy regions, life is sad and dark to me. Not a blossom, not a sunbeam, not a leaf upon the tree. O'er my haunted spirit ever, voices of the summer day, tell me of the happy sunshine in my bright land far away. Sadly breaks me in the morning, all the day is lone and drear. Evening wraps my heart in shadow, night alone to me is dear. Dreaming then of sweet Australia, once again I freely stray, neath the wattle's scented branches, in my bright land far away. Yeah. Yeah, these are sort of bush-spirity kind of stuff that I'm doing here. Now, before I get on and read the last one that I've got for you out of this book tonight by Mary E. Fullerton, Bush Spirit. I don't know why the E, maybe she liked ecstasy or something like that. I'm not sure. E. Yeah. Mary E. Fullerton. I'll read you a little bit about her. She was 1868 to 1946. Oh yeah, and just for the record, Mary Gilmore lived from 1865 to 1962. So yeah, she lived to, what's that, like 97 actually. Woo! Yeah, no wonder she wrote a lot of poetry. She had a bit of time, didn't she? So what's coming up? Anyway, Mary Fullerton, she was a prolific contributor of poetry and stories and articles to periodicals such as the Bulletin, the Australian Town and Country Journal. She was active in the women's suffrage movement and contributed articles to feminist issues in Ross's Monthly, the Victorian Socialist, between 1908 and 1930. Oh gosh, there were so many, like communist socialists and that around that time, because that was really the height of like Marxist books coming out, and that was what they were reading. You know, her, Louisa Lawson. There's a whole bunch of them at that time were very, very, well, Marxist, I would say, because they were at raw, they just read Marx. Let's read the Bush Spirit. Before I do, what have we got? We got a thing this Friday coming up, Songs from the Porch of Life, with Jeff Hatter and Pam Hatter and Jeff Paul coming over from Kyogle. And it's a seated gig in here, and it's only $15. You can get tickets at the door or online as well. So that will be a good show this Friday night from 6:30 till 9:30, and there will be meals available as well. Songs from the Porch of Life. Then on the 3rd of May, we've got Melody de Moore with Raphael Pierno and Melissa, accompanied by Melissa Buckholtz. And Raphael Pierno is a Neapolitan tenor. That doesn't mean that he's strawberry, vanilla and chocolate. He's actually from, like, not that Neapolitan ice cream. He's from Neapolitan, wherever Neapolitan is. Naples, that's the one. I knew that, but I forgot. In Italy, he's an Italian tenor. I should have just said that from the beginning. An Italian Neapolitan ice cream tenor. And he's coming here to sing some really cool songs like opera, and stuff like that. And he'll be at Glen Innes and Inverell, I think, as well, so on his tour. This is The Bush Spirit by Mary E. Fullerton. Half a sprite and half a woman, all a spirit warm and rare. I would have you as I see you, with the wattle on your hair. Emanation of September, shall I touch you if I dare? Or I watch you far adoring with the blossom on your hair? Are you mine or of the bushland? You are near me everywhere, with the ardent eyes alluring, with the wattle on your hair. None can claim you're evanescent as you run along the air. On your face the rose of morning, and the wattle on your hair. But a moment ere I lose you, once to touch you if I dare, then to dream of you forever, with the wattle on your hair. Mary Fullerton, Bush Spirit. Anything else I need to mention before I go on? Well, we've got the Australian Poetry Slam Heap, August the 14th and 15th. We've got Poets on the Mountain Festival, November the 13th and 17th. And an announcement, well, I shouldn't really, but it's not confirmed. We may have Ash Drumwood here on the 23rd of June, maybe, so stay tuned for that one. And if you want to make a donation to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, then you can check out the description below, the PayPal link. You can also send cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, XRP, XLM, etc., etc. There's a whole lot there in the link below, so check that out as well if you'd like to send us crypto, because as you all know, fiat currency is devaluing as inflation happens. Welcome back. We had a very quiet night last week, and in fact we didn't even have a night last week because it was no one was here, so we finished, and went home and went to bed. Yeah. Would you like to come up, Gabriel?
If you like, I don't mind. Evening again. This is April. I'll see you again in May when I come back from Rome. Common theme in my selection tonight is identity. And with the situations that we've got around the world at the moment, it's to the forefront of people's minds: identity, polarity, and social harmony. And poet laureate, who you wouldn't expect to either have a sense of humour or to have even considered this theme, William Makepeace Thackeray, around the 1850s, if I remember school correctly, which I may not. This is he'd met somebody Chinese, and it inspired him to write what he hoped was going to be amusing. Let's see if we, in the beginning of the 21st century, agree. A tragic story. There lived a sage in days of yore, and he a handsome pigtail wore, but wondered much and sorrowed more, because it hung behind him. He mused upon this curious case, and swore he'd change the pigtail's place, and have it hanging at his face, not dangling there behind him. Says he, the mystery I found, I'll turn me round, and he turned him round, but still it hung behind him. Then round and out and in, all day the puzzled sage did spin. In vain, it mattered not a pin, the pigtail hung behind him. And right and left and round about, and up and down and in and out, he turned, but still the pigtail stout hung steadily behind him. And though his efforts never slack, and though he twist and twirl attack, alas, still faithful to his back, the pigtail hangs behind him. Now, I imagine he wrote that as an adult, but I would be quite impressed if I were told he wrote that while he was still at school. Now, the second one is my imagining what it's like to be a school shooter or a mass murderer, and updated some of the words so it's also part of identity, the far reaches thereof. So this is now called the mass shooter's prayer. I hate all crowds, everywhere, of any class, of any race. Their drink-induced euphoria brings irresistibly to mind the image of a chieftain tank and submachine guns trained upon the whole fucking crowd. Oh my God, how I long for a rifle to fire through your blank faces, to transform you from a live zero to a dead one. You, the cannon fodder of the great, you, the spoiled child crowd screaming and gurgling. Would to God it was with your blood you were gurgling. Your pasty pink faces, your fixed smiles, your drunkenness thoroughgoing in its repulsiveness, silly and giggly rather than amusing, mildly lecherous rather than sexual. You, the eternal fractions, incapable either of solitary thought or action. You, the half-thinking, half-living forerunners of the brave new worlders. See, the young Nordic fondles a black-haired girl's body. She, smiling, pushes back her forelock, and from time to time pats his chest. Oh, for a Colt or a Magnum or a Schlank to shoot you both for the cause of iron reason. Oh, to see the red fluid stain your marble skin and say, see my goddess, there are two less fools, two less wasps living from day to day, two less Morlocks on the Eloy's earth, a sacrifice to you, Felician Queen. I know you, scurvy and wrinkled Democrats. All power rests on the people, you whine. What? Does an army conquer by reason of numbers alone? Strategy and leadership count for nothing. Would be truer to say, power rests on the people. They need magnetising by a leader and an idea, like an iron bar by an electromagnet. Say now, who will magnetise the people? Any offers? Sorry, haven't got the time, says one. Haven't got the guts, says another. Haven't got the skin, says the black. Haven't got the nose, says the Jew. Says the poet, let the people magnetise themselves. I've got my own problems and despise others. Besides, a magnetised multitude means war. War, the great leveller. You're all equal in the fucking army. In the ranks, that is. Geez, what a sense of comradeship I felt. Slurping cocoa with the Poms at midnight while we sang about Hitler's one ball. The illusory symbiosis of enforced cooperation. Fellowship of the trenches and the gutter. You, the masses. You, the fat contented majority. You, the trying hard to become assimilated. The converted Jew, the public school Zulu. You are the little molecules of water that the tidal waves of history move, foam and dash. You are the little sick cells of an ever-decaying ulcer. Why should your leaders heal it? What have you ever done for them but given them ridicule, abuse and calumny? Power you gave only grudgingly at the 11th hour to save your property values and pay packets. You pusillanimous silt of history. What a good mood I was in that day.
Yeah. I'll say.
It's a bit cutting.
Now for something completely different. Got this book here called Yet More Comic and Curious Verse, Penguin Books, edited by somebody who got the same name as somebody I went to university with, Mr. J.M. Cohen, but whether it's the same guy or not is probably irrelevant to everything. This one's by Kenneth Lillington. It's called Disenchantment. I think this is quite clever. He thought he saw utopia, as neatly planned as chess. He looked again and saw it was ubiquitous duress. That does not gratify, he said, my bourgeois consciousness. He thought he saw the truth of life, as sex all unalloyed. He looked again and saw it was a yarn of Sigmund Freud. If this sprang from the id, he said, its arguments are void. He thought he saw full many a gem of purest ray serene. He looked again and saw it was a dose of mescaline. The price of visions is, he said, the headaches in between. He thought he saw the Holy Ghost lamenting in a mist. He looked again and saw it was, you'll never guess this one, an existentialist. It may be that he's right, he said, but what a pessimist. He thought he saw a projectile descending from a height to blow the human race to bits and blast it out of sight. He looked again and saw that he was absolutely right. That's a little gem, that. Kenneth Millington. And an even pithier one about Adam Smith's argument for capitalism, where if everybody acts selfishly but intelligently, then the whole of society will be better off. This is called, and it's by Anonymous, One Good Turn Deserves Another. A poor man went to hang himself, but treasure chanced to find. He pocketed the miser's pelf and left the rope behind. His money gone, the miser hung himself in sheer despair. Thus, each the other's wants supplied, that was surely fair. Sweet. And finally, all the stuff that's been going on in Gaza since October, and with me being born to a Jewish family and having changed my entire name and identity during the Six-Day War, because I could see in 1967 that what eventually was going to happen. Had no idea that it would be 2027. And when I lived in Singapore, I was often very struck by the Singaporean attitude to the Japanese, considering that the Japanese occupation of Singapore was singularly nasty. And it wasn't hatred, it was almost admiration, and it was almost as if they put on the list, this is what winner nations actually do. And I think that the Israelis have got a bit of that particular very nasty infection. So I read something, and the funny thing about this, something I'm going to read out that I wrote a few days ago. Normally when I write down the idea, and then I edit it and get it to rhyme and squeeze it into a form. But for some reason, and I know not what, this one came straight out. And I'm not going to claim I was channeling the Arcturians or anything like that, but it's worth remarking that it came straight out in rhyme. Here we go. This is called Race with the Devil. Nobody has an identity confined to their own skin. We all have a group that we are in. To diss that group is to diss me. I feel my group so deep in me. I think it is the lowest vibe to have our strings twanged by our tribe. And this is never quite so true if your tribe is that of Jew. Once in a pub I blew my lid when a drunk old yacht called me a yid, but when my first wife did the same, I laughed and found it rather lame. At uni, thought I'd found my voice and felt I had to make a choice. Airsats, Brit or son of Zion, which is the better bed to lie on? I signed up for Israel's army, though friends exclaimed that was just balmy. But when the Six-Day War was won, I changed my name. The deed poll was done. I knew I had divorced my race. My soul would wander out of space, but it knew, as I did not, how soon the Shoah, the Holocaust, would be forgot, and how one day the sons of martyrs would in turn become the Tartars. I'm not proud of my decision, but understand the world's derision. The Jews, unless they embrace peace, will find they hold their land on lease. Their Bible couldn't make it plainer. They are kicked out by God, their trainer, each time they worship other gods and murder innocents in squads. The rule of law is almost here, and war crimes shall not disappear. Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Rome took Jews away from their least home. History repeats a tragic farce. Thank you, just too much a march. That is what I call a work in progress. See you in May, my people.
It's all very interesting what goes on here, isn't it? Sometimes it's very entertaining. It's always something to learn. Wow, I really yeah. And what I'm really lucky for, because I get to go back and edit these videos now, because I've learned how to edit, and I get to watch all these poets again. So I really get to listen to what everyone does here tonight. This, over the last few years, I've been involved in something called the Dirty 30 Challenge, because April is the International Month of Poetry. And the Dirty 30 Challenge was a thing that was, we were given one prompt per day for the month of April. Well, after quite some time, old mate got a bit tired, as old mates do, and some new mates have taken it over, and it's called Prompted Prose. There's about 260, 270 members at the moment. It's just growing, and we get one every day, we get a prompt. So I'm going to go through some of mine. I've got 10 days to go through, but I'm not going to do them all yet. I'll do day 1 and maybe day 2. Day 1, we were given the prompt April Fool, because it was April Fool's Day. April was no fool. She took her boyfriend's tool, grabbed it tight with all her might, then she hit and hit. It didn't hurt a bit, then she hit some more, that's what a hammer's for. She fixed her back door, hammered a little more because it is a tool. April is no April's fool. Yeah. Of course. And then day 2, this one, we were given the prompt, what was it, I believe, or what we believe in. As a linguist and a scientist, I know that beliefs are not based on fact, but hearsay of other people and not first principles generally. So here goes. What do I believe in? I believe in nothing, but I know what I know. Beliefs aren't facts. And that's a fact though. I could believe beliefs, but then I'd be programmed, as believing beliefs is being a delusional human. But I know there's an energy that like water flows in everything with a rhythm like prose. I know as above, as I know as below. I know correspondence as above, so below. I know there's effect which comes from a cause, and I know when I'm correct and when to take a pause. I know gender and polarity. I also know vibration. I know there is disparity. I question information. I know that all is mentalism. The mind affects all planes. I know I channel Thundercloud, and my mum named me James. Yeah, and that was based on Hermetic principles, basically. The as above, so below, the principle of correspondence, the principle of cause and effect, the rhythm, gender and polarity, vibration, and mentalism. Yeah, the 7 hermetic principles. Day 3, we were given a knock knock. Knock knock. Who's there? Police. Police who? Please open the door, it's raining and I'm getting wet. I've come to visit Winnie the Pooh. Is this his home? No. Then who are you? I am the occupant. Oh, so are you occupied? Yes. Knock, knock. Who's there? Anita. Anita who? Anita, go to the toilet, will you be long? Knock, knock. Who's there? Needle. Needle who? Needle, it'll help opening the door. Thank you very much. Day 4. We were given the task, we had to write, like, was it some kind of an email or something, like a viral thing that, a viral email or something like that, yeah. Subject, lines will sing, your heart take flight at Gyra's Arcadia Theatre tonight. Oh yeah, we had to be salespeople, that's right, but in poet form. In Gyra's heart where mountains rise, a treasure trove for poets' eyes, the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame and Thundercloud, aka James. From Gordon's tales to Banjo's rhyme, words finely crafted, conserving time, Indigenous songlines, stories, deep secrets that the land forever keeps. Browse the shelves a poet seek, or hear their voice and spirit speak. Open mic night, spoken flow, words take root like seeds that grow. Art and gifts a market charm, fuel your mind and keep you warm. Seahorse medicine cafe for raw, healthy treats, hot soup and more. Poetry festivals, poetry nights, poetry shows because poetry delights. The Australian Poetry Film Contest, film your poetry, be the best. Filmed, written, spoken, poetic word in Gyra's theatre, your voice heard. The Australian Poetry Hall of Fame awaits to herald your beautiful name. Check it out and don't delay. Enter the Australian Poetry Film Contest today.
I'll do a moment in confliction. Tractable, retractable, then I can't retract it all. Reflecting, then rejecting, emotionally subjecting all. Slipping through my fingers, not knowing if I want to fall. Please let it be a soft treble, not to the hurting and reverting to what I've always known before. Do some old ones because I don't have anything prepared. Okay. Yearning for a kiss. Yearning, yearning, yearning for a kiss. A message far beyond the waters to put your mind at rest. To say you're mine and no one else's for moments felt in bliss. Yours forever longing and the holding of your grips. Of sweet of daydreams, caressing, of heavens reminiscing, tender words that calm the soul, and fun adventures waiting. But tainted is the pathway of contradictory courtings, as the heart is yet another's, sending kisses of devotions and sounds of goodnight wishes. And I just wanted to do one of my friend Colin's one about that a lot of my early poems are about. And I found one of his in there, so I thought I'll just read his up. That's just short. As lovers sleep, a friend keep, to weather a storm, love lost to mourn, a bright and cheery day, a night of play, pleasure of touch, a taste of sweet. Loving you is such a treat.
Day 5 of the, what do they call it? Prompted prose. 344. Ever wonder about numbers? They catch my eye and I wonder why. Because time goes passing by. Awake in the night and staring at me is the master number of 333. This is the time that I manifest. 3:55, gratitude that I'm alive, breathing air. 4, words change worlds, your words change minds, our words change time, all words are sublime. 5/4/2024, 50,542,024 would be enough. Who could want or use any more? 4:05, gratitude once again that I am alive for this opportunity to grow and strive. You know, that was just a number thing. I don't know even whatever. Don't even remember what the prompt was for that. Day 6, the prompt was faded, and we had to use the word faded. So I called this patina. Faded aqua paint flakes falling from a facade reveal Greg. VHS tapes line the walls, only this is 2024. Old school mix cassette tapes, carefully recorded from the radio. Old bottles in green, amber, blue and clear, some chipped. Tribal masks and tribal drums, greying with age. Cracked wood. The STC Transistor 6 radio from the 1950s. Potato pickers. This suitcase was used to house a French horn, but was commandeered in World War II, sat in a hairdresser shop as an ornament, and then returned home. Gold decals were unique to each Singer treadle sewing machine, and this one from 1894 was refurbished in a silky oak cabinet with lead-light doors by Reynolds Brothers, Isles Lane, Brisbane. A new leather belt and some Singer oil. The 1905 Beale Vader steel-framed piano was last tuned in 1937 and will be retuned next week. Flip-up cinema seats struggle to fit 2024-sized people. Greg remembers a time of vitality and thinks a large part of the human race is becoming faded. Sun-bleached wooden railway station baggage trolleys have rust-coloured steel wheels. Carnival glass in orange and gold. Australian poetry, 1788 to 1888. Golden fleece, top hits, 45 RPM. Do what you do well. By Bud Baxter and the Big Men. Tupperware beetroot servers, pineapple salt shakers. Greg seated 800 people in its heyday, 140 in the dress circle balcony. Access to the balcony was via the gentleman's smoking room. Throwing jaffas was the thing. Goodness help any poor beggar who copped one in the back of the head. 6pence downstairs, 1 and 3 upstairs. Bigger than Ben-Hur, and the exit doors were locked during Psycho. Before he stopped the grog, it's told they had to carry Chad Morgan up to the stage for the second half of the show. Chad Morgan is not faded. It wouldn't matter anyway. Everything fades away. Faded. Day 7. What matters to me and why, in 2 forms of poetry, haiku and another form. which is why I chose haiku in the second form. Okay, the haiku. The Australian Poetry Hall of Fame is my love and my life. That's the haiku bit. What matters to me, and then the why. I've a mission and a purpose. The mission is to service, to preserve and promote the poets of Australia. A library and an archive, a stage to perform live. Success the only option, I won't failure. Poetry's recorded history, imagination, words a mystery, from bush balladeers to free prose themes. Moving mountains with every verse, a place for poets to rehearse and write their poetic legacy of Australian dreams. Ta-da! That was day 7. I like that one. And day 8, we're coming up to the end here. Oh, we had to think 7 generations in the future. If I could send a message, and what would you write to them, to your 7-generation ancestor in the future?
Descendant.
Sorry?
Descendant.
Yeah, descendant, yeah.
Ancestors are in the past.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. 7 generations away, I'm thinking of you today. And I pass across time this message of mine, and I wanted to say good day. Humans these days have much different ways. There's more peace, in my life at least. Change happens always. Life is a positive attitude. Don't choose fear, but gratitude. Have a purpose to serve, or you get what you deserve. This is not a pointless platitude. Create beauty from your heart. Write, play music, dance, do art. The race is won by the bold. Begin before you're old, but at any age you can start. Yeah, 7 generations away.
Good.
Thanks. Day 9, we were given autumn as the prompt. It's more prosaic than anything. And I guess I was inspired because, well, it was day 9. We got, you'll see that it was the 7 straw-necked ibis that flew as I was running that morning that come into this. Daylight saving ended, and now I've an extra hour of sunlight in the morning. A flock of 7 straw-necked ibis fly west towards Mother of Ducks Lagoon. The fresh morning with clear blue skies suggests warmth. However, with 17 degrees predicted, it will be the coldest day this far this year. No frost yet, but they say the first frost comes after Anzac Day. The trees began changing late this year, but are now bright. Yellows, oranges, reds, maroon and purple. Leaves blow down the street and inside doors, annoying those who sweep. Red October maple trees wait to become tree skeletons. That's that. Yeah. So yeah, they do. Locals all say that the first frost up here comes after Anzac Day, although I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bit of frost in a few patches this morning, because it was down to, feels like 0, even though it was like 2 degrees or 3 degrees. And only got up to 15 today here in Guyra, so yes, it was rather cool. We're heading for another cold one overnight. And the last one I've got for you tonight, that's all. And this is a haiku, and it was something embarrassing. Forgetting my lines. Now let's see. How embarrassing. That's it. It's a haiku. It's like 17 syllables. 5, 7 and 5. We'll do it again, hey?
That's good.
Something embarrassing. Forgetting my lines. Now, let's see. How embarrassing. I think it's all in the delivery, don't you? Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much for coming tonight, everybody. It's been a lovely evening once again. I might as well take the evening out. The two that I did my, with the oracles of the bush up there. It was the, what did I do? The final poem that I did, and this was, try and undo this. This is written by Anonymous. What's it called? Mad Jack's Cockatoo. That's right. Don't worry. The funny thing is that I actually don't get embarrassed. Like, you know, I could like run down the street with no pants on and like I wouldn't care. I might get arrested, but so forgetting my lines, the Mad Jack's Cockatoo. There's a man that went out in the flood time and drought by the banks of the Outer Barcoo, and they called him Mad Jack for the perch on his back, for the swag on his back. There you go, I did mess it up. Yeah. For the swag on his back was the perch for an old cockatoo. In the towns near and far, in shed, shanty and bar, came the yards of Mad Jack and his bird. And this tale I'll relate, it was told by a mate. It's just one of the many I've heard. Now, Jack was a bloke who could drink. Holy smoke, he could swig 20 mugs to my 10, and that old cockatoo, it would drink quite a few and it drank with the rest of the men. One day, when the heat was a thing hard to beat, Mad Jack and his old cockatoo came in from the west. At the old swagman's rest, Jack ordered the schooners for two. And when these had gone down, Jack pulled out half a crown and together they drank till the money was spent. Then he pulled out a note from his old tattered coat and between them they drank every cent. Then that old cockatoo it swore, red, black and blue, and it knocked all the mugs from the bar, and it flew through the air and it pulled at the hair of a bloke who was drinking 3-star. Then it jerked out the pegs from the barrels and kegs, knocked the bottles all down from the shelf, with a sound like a chair, dived into the beer and ended up drowning itself. When at last Mad Jack woke from his sleep, he ne'er spoke, but he cried like a lost husband's wife. And each quick falling tear made a flood with the beer, and the men had to swim for their life. Well, Mad Jack, he did drown, and when the waters went down, he was lying there stiffened and blue, and it's told far and wide that stretched out by his side was his trackmate, the old cockatoo. Mad Jack's Cockatoo. And that was the one that I did in the traditional poetry section up at the Oracles of the Bush on the weekend. And the one that didn't get me through to the final, but that did not matter because I think I did a good job of it anyway. I did my best job. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we will catch you next week on Wednesday. Good night.